Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Good morning, DFW. This is just a glorious December day. The weather is perfect, and we've got a jam-packed show. We're going to be talking a lot about philanthropy during this next hour, and we're going to start with a good friend of mine. Tony Fleo is the CEO of Social Venture Partners Dallas. Tony, welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Hey, Jeff, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I know Dallas has a heart as big as Texas, and often people want to give, they want to get invested and do good things in the community, but they're really not sure where to put their money or how to get involved. Tell us how Social Venture Partners Dallas works.
Sure. Social Venture Partners Dallas started about 16 years ago here in Dallas. Originally started in Seattle, and we quickly followed the model. It is based on venture philanthropy. It's a venture business model where folks pull their financial resources and their business acumen, pull it together, and vet and invest in nonprofits and social enterprises to help them succeed.
So tell us how that works. You were telling me out in the hallway that recently you engaged a bank, and what are you doing?
Sure. Our model is that our partners come one individual at a time. Someone who's very dedicated wakes up one day and says, hey, I want to give back. I don't know how to plug in, and they have some really great skills to offer. We do believe that engaged philanthropy, using your skill set to help folks, is really what moves the needle for them, helps them to grow their capacity. So that'll always be our core DNA, to bring on one individual at a time. But we realized that we were saying more no's than yeses to those nonprofits and social enterprises that needed our help. And so we looked around and said, Dallas has all these great headquarters here in town, and under one headquarters roof, they have every department that a nonprofit needs to thrive and to really succeed. And so Chase Bank was our first corporation to sign on board, and we are so proud of the relationship that we have with them. We're just finishing up that pilot right now, and we went in, taught their emerging leaders how to use our process, how to vet nonprofits, how to pick the ones that had the greatest chance to succeed, and how to give their talents to help them do that. And so the employees are working on these great projects, whether it's a marketing project, a strategic planning project, whatever the project is, and they're really helping to move the nonprofit ahead much faster than they could on their own.
One of the things that I know to be true is that a lot of nonprofits in the Dallas area, there's a kind of a duplication of efforts. Do you guys get involved in that at all? Getting not either nonprofits to team up, or how do you create some efficiencies where it might be inefficient right now? We are
very concerned about that area, and we just had our event, our annual Big Bang event, and we had the Lyda Hunt Hill Foundation presenting their research on that. And it's a space that we really think is critical to moving the needle, that we start to get more and more nonprofits to collaborate, to be more work together, or to even consolidate if the need be, because the resources are not as great as they need to be, and competing for those resources to do this work just doesn't make sense. So we do want to play a role in that. We're just starting to study that and look at all of that, but it is a critical element to helping them grow.
You mentioned the Big Bang event. Tell us about that. I know it was very successful.
Well, it was an extraordinary event. We brought Bill Strickland in, who has a project he was our keynote speaker, and he came on stage with his oxygen tank, and at the end of his very moving talk, he looked at the audience and said, I've taken myself off the lung transplant list for 48 hours so I could come to Dallas and do this talk.
Wow.
And he said, when you're in this work, you're in it with your life. That kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. We all were very inspired by that work. He has a phenomenal after-school arts program that we're looking to replicate here in Dallas, and so that was very inspiring. Mina Chang, who is a rock star here in Dallas with the organization Linking the World, was our keynote speaker. And the whole idea of Big Bang is to bring together great thought leaders, the corporate world, the political world, the philanthropic world, all these worlds, and help them intersect and start collaborating on great projects that we can do for the city.
I know that millennials are huge philanthropists, or at least they really want to work for a company that's giving back. Are you discovering kind of a resurgence of giving, more companies wanting to get involved than ever before?
You know, my staff is laughing right now if listening to this question because I want to do a blog about how I hate millennials and how millennials hate me. But it is a love-hate relationship, and their hearts are in the right place, their spirit is in the right place, and utilizing their energy is really a challenge for all of us because they have very particular ways in which they want to do philanthropy, and we want them to do philanthropy. We want them to do it purposefully, but in a way that really helps move the needle. And so we are responding to that at every turn and bringing them on board as fast as we can into social venture partners and having fun while we're doing it.
Well, it seems to me that today's millennials kind of have the heart of a 60s peace, love. Let's do something with our lives. What was my purpose on the planet? And that combined with maybe the money of the boomers who remember the 60s could really become a powerful force.
I think the issue for all philanthropists is that, you know, it feels really, really good, and that these things are necessary to show up at the food pantry and work on a Saturday and give food away, or to do these kinds of direct services. You get immediate gratification from that, and those things are very, very important. That is not what we do, and we are about building the capacity, which takes a little bit more of a commitment. It's longer-term projects, but the payoff is so much greater. But it's not as sexy as putting on the great gala. It's not as immediately rewarding as doing direct service. So getting folks to really understand if they can just commit some time to these things, they can really make a huge difference.
My guest right now, Tony Fleo. He is the CEO of Social Venture Partners Dallas. I know that a few years ago there was a story in the news called Giving Fatigue. And it was all about how there was so many wonderful nonprofits and only so many philanthropists, and they were kind of getting hit from all sides. And after a while, people felt like worn out. Do you ever experience that with some of the philanthropists that you're working with, that they just, you know, there's only so many dollars to go around, and they feel like, well, gosh, I get an invitation to give every single day. How do I sort through all this?
Sure. I mean, we're regularly helping people to prioritize, but we're helping people to understand where they can get the biggest bang for their buck. And if you have $5,000 to give and you put that with another 130 partners who have $5,000 to give, the capacity and the impact of your gift on an organization is just so much greater than you can do alone. So that is really what we are all about. We are all about joining forces, joining resources, having much greater impact. What you're speaking about is this paradigm of the scarcity mentality versus the abundance mentality. Unfortunately, in the philanthropic world, most of the major gifts are going to institutions like universities and museums, and not to direct care charities who actually desperately need those services to meet the needs of those that are just so much on the margins. And so it is a lot about educating philanthropists on how impactful their dollar can be, what direction it should be going to move the needle here in Dallas. You know, we live in a city that has simultaneously made the most billionaires and the most children living in poverty. There's something seriously wrong with that the leaders of the city have to really get together and figure out how do we stop that? How do we make a more just society?
I also think what we're experiencing kind of a never before seen philanthropic effort from the top, the very top, the Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates, and now Mark Zuckerberg just announced that he's going to be giving away basically 99% of his stock. Does that help as you're out there talking to other philanthropists?
Well, yes, it does. I mean, of course, it's very inspiring, but what is helpful if you look at the way in which they're doing it and you start using that as models. You know, they're dedicating not only money to the social sector, but they're dedicating money to advocacy work to make sure that legislators understand that they can do with the strike of a pen on a bill what all the nonprofits in the world would take years to do, they can do in one legislative session, lifting people out of poverty. So the kinds of advocacy work that these philanthropists are now understanding is so critical to moving the needle is really also very inspiring. To tackle these social problems, you have to come at them from from philanthropic dollars, from political avenues, from all of these different angles, and combining those efforts is what's going to make it successful.
I'm going to embarrass you a little bit, Tony. You're a very wise man.
Yeah.
I've had a chance to be in some meetings with you, and you're like that guy that says the thing that everybody is thinking, and it's beautiful. Tell us.
It's been described in other ways to me in the past. Beauty is not one of them, but I thank you for that.
Tell us what your background. How did you get into this?
My background is all in psychology, and I was doing individual and marriage and family counseling for many years, and started to take those principles into organizations and helping develop organizations, and really fell in love with that work. There is a science and a system to helping organizations succeed and thrive, and when good people come around and want to work those systems, great things can happen.
It seems like Social Venture Partners is really on a roll. I mean, I've been observing you kind of from afar for several years now, and it seems like you're really hitting your stride as an organization.
Well, the people that I get to work with every day at Social Venture Partners are just remarkable. These are men and women from all walks of life who just want to give and to mentor and understand the importance of doing it to grow capacity. And the success stories are just, we have some failures for sure, but the success stories are really overwhelming. And it's just such a privilege to be able to work with them every day.
In the little time that we have left in this segment, how can people get involved?
Well, they can look at our website, Social Venture Partners Dallas, and just reach out to us. Our partners all come to us with a financial contribution and with a commitment to give just a small portion of their business acumen to help an organization, and we'll do the rest. We'll make it all. We'll make the match. And speaking of that, Jeff, when are you going to become a social venture partner?
I think I'm signing up.
Well, that sounds exciting to me. And you can just leave you the address. You can send the check, and it'll be great to have you aboard.
The check is already in the mail.
That's excellent.
All right, Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.